Okay, we're back with Mike and Diane, Dan and Danielle, and so that was part 2 of that teaching on the beach with Dr. Mike. Some good stuff. It just solid things that I was listening, and some of those things, examples he brought up, I heard it. Bingo.
He was talking about you.
Well, I know
about you.
with the one about being the people pleaser. I was the youngest of 4 kids. Okay, and so it was a little bit hard maybe to find my voice amongst this rambunctious young family, and so as a result, I find, like he was saying, when you get older, sometimes it's hard to express what's inside, like to get out on the table things that really need to be talked about. But I was just kind of somewhat in the background, and I was like the quiet one, and I just wanted to please everyone, do good things, and be a good boy. But I've had to learn to kind of come out of that shell when I know it's important, and to actually talk and communicate.
But
it's still not easy.
Nothing in common with you at all, because according to Diane, you just don't stop talking. You two need to get together, okay?
I'll listen.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I find that though it's
and you know
true.
what? No. Joking aside, you are doing well. Like, we've been married a long time, 33 years now.
Still a struggle.
And but you are very intentional about sharing things, and so that makes a big difference when I see you trying. So that's all right.
Another illustration: we are more than conquerors.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So some of the things he was talking about was just, do you have to just sit and accept what the past has dealt you and how it affects you now? He says no. There's ways you can change, and part of that is by what we do with our mind in renewing it.
Yes, well, I always say I like God's law a whole lot better than Murphy's law, because there's a lot of people walking around here going, well, of course this would happen, or he's just like his father, this is always going to be this way. But no, we can put God's word in, check Murphy's law and get God's law in there and say, no, we are more than conquerors.
Pointing to me, right?
We'll keep you. But no, just insert God's word into our marriage and into our family, his truth, and he has plans to prosper us and for a hope and a future. And we just have to keep replacing those things with God's word.
We submit ourselves to God's process in our lives and let him work out those things and be participants in it. One of the things that I'll often say when I'm speaking somewhere is, we have to run to him, not from him. So we can look at our past or look at our own failures and the tendency that's built into us. Just like Adam and Eve did in the garden, they mess up, and what do? They run and hide from God. And sometimes we're like that. So circumstances in our life, my family, my past, or whatever, we can just run from him. But what we need to do is just keep bringing it to him, bring our mess to him, bring the circumstances to him, and let him work in our lives, despite our failures or anyone else's failures.
I like that idea of being intentional about it, actually running to him, right? Because I always told our kids, neutral is negative, right? So you're positive or nothing. Right? You're either running to him or you're running away from him. Because if you're standing just being neutral, and so it is that, because we want to understand that we are not victims, right? Because we can develop this victim mentality. So whether it's from family, as we've been talking about, or Murphy's Law, as you've suggested, or all of these other things, we can have this idea that we are victims of different things. And as we just chatted just briefly about, is that we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. And we want to have that true conviction about understanding that God desires what's best for us. And as he said, as Mike said, Dr. Mike said, that he's our fan.
Yeah.
God's my fan.
He's cheering us on.
God's cheering us on.
And I love that the Bible is actually practical for our lives today. Because, Mike mentioned about renewing your mind, and we know that's in the book of Romans, chapter 12. And then there's another verse that has really meant a lot to me. It's in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, I think, where he says, take every thought captive. Because so many times, I don't know if it's a woman thing, but our minds can just take us down rabbit trails of negativity and worry and whatever. And we just have to stop it and say, hold on. I'm going to grab that thought and I'm going to take it and I'm going to throw it away. And I love what I think it's the old King James Version says, and you demolish strongholds when you do that. Can't you just imagine you're demolishing these strongholds that have been built up in your life over years that you don't have to hold on to anymore because you've taken it and you've given it to God and you're walking in freedom now. And that's available to us as we have a relationship with God.
And part of
through
that
Jesus.
healing Dr. Mike was talking about was it might involve forgiveness.
Yeah.
And just coming and saying, you know what? I realize this had an effect on the way I am now, and I've been holding this in, and I just release you. I forgive you. And even if the person is alive to be there to forgive, you can still do it in your heart and before God, and He can start a change there.
What I love is how he reminded us that we're all different. Like, we don't have to repeat that cycle, right? We're all different. He said that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, right? Each and every one of us, we're different. We don't have to have that same pattern that we saw, but we're different is what I love.
And I love as we do that, as we stop it, as we break those chains, those strongholds, our kids then can see that happen. And they can say, okay, I don't have to walk in things that I've been carrying either. Mom and Dad are modeling for me what a life looks like that's surrendered to God and the freedom that you walk in with that.
It can be better than our circumstances.
Yeah, exactly.
And as he closed that session off, he was saying, and it's okay to, if you need to go talk to someone, whether it's a pastor or a counselor or someone, a good friend, someone that you can just open up to and say, this is what I've been dealing with, and that could be part of the healing journey as well.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks.
We talk a little bit later. Yeah, you and I have a little conversation. Okay, yes, we have to talk about some stuff. Yes.
Okay, they're going to keep talking, but we're going to say we'll be back. Okay.